Bloom News Brief. More info at bullandbloom.com. Classic Rock Magazine recently posted an interview with Kiss co-founder Gene Simmons. A link to the entire interview can be found in the description. On Kiss's 1998 album Psycho Circus, which was marketed as the first new studio album to feature the band's original lineup since 1979's Dynasty, Simmons said, "When the band first started, Ace and Peter were equally as important as Paul and myself. But for 2 decades, Paul and I kept the band going, and very well. When we were making Psycho Circus, Ace said, 'Hey, I deserve as much as you do.' We said, 'No, you don't.' So Ace and Peter refused to show up. But the train leaves the station whether you get on board or not. Ace and Peter were a pain. There's no other way to say it. Peter was very emotional at the end. He started to paint a teardrop at the corner of his eye. That's how unhappy he was making money and having people adore him. So we decided to see if new blood would re-energize the band." In a 2020 interview with the Disc Drive, guitarist Ace Frehley said the following: "Psycho Circus was a disappointment for me. The only song I performed on was the one I wrote, Into the Void. Paul and Gene are such control freaks. They used other musicians. The only song Peter played drums on was Into the Void." In a 2012 interview with Eddie Trunk, drummer Peter Criss said, "The minute the reunion was over and it got to Psycho Circus, it all changed again. I was really excited. I was like, wow, we're going to finally do a studio album together as a band. And I think the fans felt the same way. But it got right back to that thing again. You're going to do this, you're going to do that. We'll pay you for the record and we'll say you played on it, but we don't want you to tell the world that you didn't play on it. I couldn't live with that. I couldn't look in the mirror every day. And I sure wasn't going to let my fans think I'm playing on something I'm not on. I won't do that. My songs got rejected. It hurt. It really bothered me. It was like, well, let's work on it maybe like we did with Bob Ezrin. Nothing got rejected with Bob. Everything we did as a team, as a group. That's why I think Destroyer was so huge. It was the best album we ever did because we were a band when we did it. When this came along and it seemed we were more powerful than we'd ever been, as far as I feel, these two guys took over. It was another controlling issue. We're going to control the issue. You're going to do what we tell you to do. As far as I'm concerned, that album was trash. Then we had to go out and perform that album. It was kind of like I was a sideman. In the beginning of the reunion, I was Peter Criss, the Catman. By the time it got to Psycho Circus, I was Peter Criss, the Sideman. During a conversation with the Talk Is Jericho podcast, Paul Stanley said, "Psycho Circus was kind of like the result of a cancer that was building. We had gotten back together, we brought those guys back, and they were just completely apologetic and remorseful and thankful to be back. And we never said we were going to be equal partners. Why would they be equal partners? The band had existed without them. So that being said, nobody should start a collection, although they might need it now. Those guys won the lottery twice, and when they came back, they were pretty broke. And yet it wasn't too long after things started to happen again that they started doing the same stuff. The idea of doing Psycho Circus, the idea behind doing it was much greater than the reality of doing it. Let's do an album together. Well, wait a minute. You've got guys who are trying to renegotiate deals, and we're talking to lawyers more than we're talking to them. And this idea of, I should have this many songs on the album. I've been writing songs for 50 years, and I've gotten pretty good at what I do. So it just became ugly and sad. A link to the interviews can be found in the description.